Welcome, everyone, and thank you all for coming out for certainly, judging by the numbers of folks here today and then the calls that we've gotten, whenever gun legislation is talked about or passed in the House, certainly that sparks a lot of conversation and dialogue between the constituents. So we knew it was a very important topic, and that's the reason for having tonight's program, is to talk about license to carry permits, and then also to discuss a little bit about the Castle Doctrine. So thank you all for coming, and thank my panelists tonight for being a part of the program also. Also, I want to thank Brady Fire Company. They're always so gracious to me to hold events here, and you can't find a nicer place to have events. We're lucky to have it in our community, and I want to thank Brady Fire Company for having us here tonight. They are selling some soda and water if anybody's thirsty during the program. It'll benefit the fire company. You can go back to the bar, and they can take care of you back there. There's going to be an email list passed around. It probably works out whenever there's some gun legislation going on. We'll oftentimes put out email blasts. It's a great way for you to be kept informed of what's going on in Harrisburg and the discussions that are going on. There are a couple of bills that are out there floating around right now. And so if you're interested in that, when the email list comes around, please sign up. Questions will be taken after the panelists are done. And we'll just ask if you would come to the center microphone to ask a question so that everybody in the audience can hear the question as well as the answers then. If you're not comfortable asking the question yourself, there will be index cards back on the bar in the corner. You can fill out an index card and get it to one of my staff, and then we will ask the question for you. But let's get things started tonight. And which of our fine sheriffs? We have 3 sheriffs here tonight from all 3 counties that I represent. Sheriff Chamberlain from Columbia County, Sheriff Geringer from Montour County, and Sheriff Wolf from Northumberland County. And which of you fine gentlemen will be presenting first? Sheriff Wolf.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say thank you for coming here. I don't know, it's good to see some old friends and make new ones. Some people out here I recognize, some I don't, but by way of introduction, my name is Bob Wolf. I am the acting sheriff of Northumberland County. I've been with the sheriff's office for almost 5 years, and before that, I was a policeman in Shamokin for a little over 20 years. This is an excellent forum. Feel free to ask questions at any time. What I'm going to do is, my little portion of the presentation is, I have someone with me, one of my girls that works in the office, in the sheriff's office. Debbie Kaleda has been with the sheriff's office for 20 years? For 20 years, and has outlasted the last 4 sheriffs. So you absolutely know that she knows what she's doing and she knows what she's talking about. She is the primary person in my office that sells the gun permits. So what Debbie is going to do tonight is she is going to explain from start to finish what you need to do when you come into a sheriff's office and purchase a gun permit. More than likely, probably many of you already have them, but maybe we can give you some information, something a little new, that in case one of your friends asks a question, you yourself will be able to answer it. Afterwards, if you have a question, we can't answer it, we'll get you the answer. My office is, when the office is open, stop in and see me anytime, or the other sheriffs, I'm sure likewise, and we'll help you out. I believe last year we sold over 2,500 gun permits, and that's a lot. Debbie's been with us from back in the day when the gun permits were typed on a piece of paper. Am I right, Deb?
Yes.
So I'm going to introduce her. I'm going to have her come up, and she's going to explain things, and don't be afraid to ask some questions.
Hi, everybody. My name is Debbie, and I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 20 years. Like Sheriff Wolf said, I've been through 4 sheriffs. So every sheriff has their own ideas of doing things in different ways. But the license to carry system has always been the same. What you have to do is come into the office with a current driver's license, fill out the application, which we brought plenty of. If anybody wants any, they're welcome to have one. And just fill it out with 2 references. And we need a driver's license with the correct address. Now, all we do now is the state implemented a new system, which just happened a month ago, is we run your name through the computer, which goes right to Harrisburg. Harrisburg knows that you have a permit the same minute that we know. And they transmit all your information through our computers, and they run that instant check immediately. And it takes seconds for them to reply that if you do not have a record, you can get a permit. But you do have to have references and cash, check, or money order for $20. And like Sheriff Wolf said, in 2012, we issued 2,700 permits. In 2013, we issued 28,010. And that's a big increase in Northumberland County. So I'm sure that everybody will be interested in what the sheriffs has to say about different laws, and it should help you out in any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody, for attending tonight. Special thanks to Representative Kurt Mosser for hosting this. Tony Rosini, the District Attorney in Northumberland County, Sheriff Wolf, Sheriff Chamberlain, thank you for joining us tonight. I just want to touch on a few things on the license to carry firearms. Currently, as Debbie explained to you, the application for a license to carry, the newest version was put into play in 2012, October of 2012. Every application is identical in the 67 counties in Pennsylvania. There's no changes. They're all the same. The applications are totally free of charge. However, there's currently a website that people are using. It's called support@PennsylvaniaLicenseToCarry.org. They charge you $17 for this application. And then when you complete the application, you bring it into one of the county sheriffs, and you think you're only going to pay $3 for the license to carry. The applications are totally free. Representative Millar from Columbia County, and we're going to talk to Kurt about it, to have this organization looked at to find out how they're doing what they're doing. They do have small print on their website, which is very small print. And I took the liberty today to print this off, but you can see the print is very small, telling you that you're going to pay $17, and then you're going to have to pay another $20 when you come in. The license to carry, as they explained earlier, the license to carry is a 5-year license. It's good for 5 years unless sooner revoked by a county sheriff. The reasons that you could have a license to carry revoked are from anything from good cause to having a protection from abuse filed against you, to having criminal charges filed against you, to having a mental health issue, either voluntary or involuntary. But for the most part, I've been sheriff since 2004. I've been with the office in Montour County since 1978. I think over my 36 years of being there, I think we've only ever revoked maybe 24 or 25. Since becoming sheriff in 2004, I've only denied 14 licenses to carry. Since Sandy Hook, we've increased our numbers. Probably we've tripled our numbers. We're doing about 125 to 140 licenses to carry on a monthly basis. In Montour County, if you apply for a license to carry, under Pennsylvania law, we have 45 days to complete the investigation. Normally, the general rule of thumb, it takes about 3 to 7 days in Montour County to get a license to carry. The total cost is $20. If you go to any other county in Pennsylvania and you're paying over $20, that's unfair. The fee is $20, and the license is good for 5 years. I think the gentleman in the front here had a question earlier. You wanted to know if you moved to another county, once your license expires, you need to go to that particular county that you're living in and resubmit an application for the renewal. And again, most counties, the bigger counties that are doing 700 and 800 license to carry a month, naturally it's going to take you a little bit longer. One of the biggest problems that we run into is the Pennsylvania Instant Check System, which is ran by the Pennsylvania State Police in Harrisburg. They sometimes get backed up, their computer systems are down, but generally we have not had any issues with the Pennsylvania Instant Check System. I think it's a good system. I think it works well for all of us. I'm trying to touch upon, Tim, can you think of any other issues that we need to cover? We do have a PowerPoint, and we have Representative Mosser's staff here, but I remember back going to school, and I see some firefighters from Montour County. I can't stand to have somebody put a PowerPoint up and then have somebody read it to me. So we do have a PowerPoint. If you want to go to the first page. And the first part of the PowerPoint talks about the source of Pennsylvania law, the rights of the citizens to bear arms. All that's true and correct. But a license to carry a firearm is not a right. A license to carry a firearm is a privilege. And I don't know of any sheriff in Pennsylvania that would deny anybody a license to carry unless they had something in their criminal background or a mental health issue that would prohibit them from issuing anyone a license to carry. You can go next. Firearms that require a license. In Pennsylvania, we issue for a license to carry firearms only. Where it talks here about rifles and shotguns that you need a license for certain lengths of barrels, that would fall under ATF, the Federal Firearms, Tobacco and Firearms Act. In Pennsylvania, we issue for firearms only. Next slide. When you need a license. It is a crime to carry a firearm without a license under the following circumstances: in your vehicle, concealed on or about your person. You do not need a license to carry a firearm in your house, at your fixed place of business, not concealed on your person. In Pennsylvania, we do have an open carry law. Next. And then it gives you a description on a word of open carry, and that's, everybody has their own opinion on open carry. Next. And there's a variety of exceptions under the license to carry, and I guess everybody got a book when they came in. If not, you can get one on the way out. All this information that we're covering on the PowerPoint, there's different sections within the book that you can get all this information. The only thing that I would comment, if you have a license to carry and you have a firearm in your vehicle that you have concealed on your person, or you have it in your vehicle, if you do get stopped by a municipal police officer or a Pennsylvania state trooper for a traffic violation, the first thing I would be telling the police officer is that I have a license to carry a firearm and I have a firearm on me. I think that's just a common sense approach, and it makes it easier for everybody. Next. We've already gone through about what you have to do to apply for a license, the background checks, which is done through the Pennsylvania Instant Check System. Everybody's required to have a photograph taken. Everybody's required to electronically sign. In my county, once you come in and complete the application and you sign and I have your photograph, I don't require you to come back in to pick it up. I'll mail it to you. A lot of people work second shift, third shift. They don't have the time to come back in. So once you make your initial stop and you have everything done that's required under the law, we'll just stick it in the mail and mail it to you. Next. Who cannot get a license? Convicted felons, persons declared incapable or involuntarily committed. Anybody that's had 3 DUIs within a 5-year period, a fugitive from justice, protection from abuse orders, and there's a variety of other issues, but these are the main ones. Next. This is basically what I covered if you got stopped. You know, if you would fail to tell somebody that you had a license or you had a license with you, you have a certain period of time to produce the license. But most often under the new system, if you're pulled over, whoever's pulling you over, once they run your name, it's already through the Pennsylvania Instant Check System. They're going to know that you have a license to carry. Next. Places that you can't carry: post office, federal property, court facilities, storage facilities, state parks. A lot of people ask me, well, they tell me I can't carry my gun in Philadelphia. That's not true. If you have a license to carry a firearm, you can carry on the streets of Philadelphia as long as you're licensed. That's been a misconception for a number of years. Next slide. Carrying on school property obviously is a no under the federal gun-free school laws. State laws, mental health facilities such as a state hospital, anywhere where there's mental health, buildings, any grounds. Next. This was part of a presentation, I believe, from Columbia County, where it talked about Bloomsburg University, DCNR, and state game lands. Next. These are the states that we have agreements with, and it's also located in the book. And if you go to the Attorney General's website, I've been asked by a number of people that come in from New York, would you issue a license to carry to me? I come to Pennsylvania occasionally, I'd like to have a license to carry. I'm not being rude to the people in New York, but when New York wants to represent and accept Pennsylvania license to carry, then I'll start issuing the New York residents. But they do not recognize Pennsylvania's license to carry, so I'm not going to recognize theirs. These are the states that we currently do. And that's just a map with the states that are outlined.
It's important to note it's a license to carry a concealed firearm. And one of the slides showed that, and I'll use the example as a vehicle. When you openly carry in Pennsylvania, you don't need a license, which is like a uniformed officer normally carries a gun in the open. But as soon as you get in a vehicle, it's concealed. You need a license. Now, that doesn't mean that you can get in the vehicle, unload it, lay the gun on the seat next to you with the magazine next to it with ammo in it. That's considered loaded. Okay? If you don't have a license, put it in the trunk, put it in storage somewhere. Separate the magazine from the gun. Open carry, I think is a bad idea. I think you just make yourself a target, and I think you're asking for trouble. If you're going to carry a gun, conceal it. You saw the map of the states that recognize our permits, our licenses to carry. You can travel through those states with our permit and have your gun concealed in your car loaded. You can't get to them because a lot of the states, if you'll notice, around Pennsylvania, there's one state that recognizes our permit. It's West Virginia. So if you want to go anywhere else, if you don't want to go through West Virginia, you got to unload your gun. Unload it, put it in storage, separate the ammo from it. You can drive through that state. Once you get back into a state like Virginia or North Carolina, you can load it and put it back in the glove box wherever you want to put it.
Talking about the Castle Doctrine is Northumberland County District Attorney Tony Rosini.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you for inviting me. I spent most of my day in court, so my brain is kind of fried, so if I'm off a little bit, I apologize. First of all, let me just talk about the Castle Doctrine in general. Some people think that the recent enactment by the legislature was the beginning of the Castle Doctrine in Pennsylvania. That's not true. There's been a Castle Doctrine in Pennsylvania by statute and common law for hundreds of years, and it comes out of Old English law that you, and the reason it's called the Castle Doctrine, you have a right to defend your castle. So the original doctrine was if somebody was breaking into your home, you didn't have to stop them and say, hey, do you have a gun? Do you intend to rape me? Do you intend to rob me or kill me? You can shoot them. And that is still true. If somebody is breaking into your home, you have the right to defend yourself against that. The new Castle Doctrine expands the perimeter of the home and also moves takes away the duty to retreat, which you would otherwise have outside the home under certain very limited circumstances. So the Castle Doctrine that the legislature recently enacted, recently was 2011, I believe, is that right, Kurt? Provides that your home now includes your porch, your deck, your patio. And it also applies to an occupied vehicle. So in those situations, if somebody is breaking in, and your car is kind of a different circumstance, so I will talk about that in a second. But if somebody is coming upon you into your home and you see them, they have a weapon, you have a right to defend yourself before they get in. They used to say in the old days, you know, if you shoot somebody outside your house, drag them in because it's illegal to do it outside. But it now extends to the perimeter of the home, including the porch, the patio, and a deck. So if you believe reasonably, and the courts apply what they call a reasonable person test. It's not what you think, it's what a reasonable person would think under the circumstances. But for your home, for the most part, there's a presumption if somebody's breaking in, you have a right to defend yourself, and you don't have to find out, you know, stop them and ask. It's when you get off premises that it becomes a lot more complicated when you're out in the public. Because under the old law, there was a duty to retreat, meaning that if you could avoid the situation without harm to yourself, then you had to do that. You had to take that option and leave. So if you could avoid the situation, you couldn't pull your gun out. Now, the Pennsylvania law says that, of course, you can defend your vehicle if somebody's breaking into your vehicle, you know, they're swinging a sledgehammer at your vehicle and you're in fear of being killed, you can defend that. But if you're outside your vehicle and somebody threatens you, they must have a weapon. They must display a weapon. You have to see a weapon. And then you don't have a duty to retreat under Pennsylvania law. And I want to caution you because there's been a lot of cases that you see on TV, you know, Florida, and I think there's one in Texas, and you'll hear of other ones where they've enacted statutes. Every state's law is different. So you can't take what you hear, you know, in news reports and say, oh, I can do that, because every state has their own statute as far as the duty to retreat, when you can use deadly force, and under what circumstances. You can never use deadly force against a police officer. If you believe you're being illegally arrested, doesn't matter. You cannot use force to resist a police officer, even if it's an unlawful arrest. You know, the option is you let them arrest you and you sue them later, and our good police officers wouldn't arrest you illegally around here anyway. So the key issue that is significantly different is the outside the home, the removal of the duty to retreat if someone displays a weapon. If you're outside the home and somebody approaches you and, you know, they come at you with their fists, no, can't do it. Can't use a weapon. You can only use deadly force if you are confronted with a deadly weapon. And I know that we're going to have some other questions here. I was going to go through some other scenarios, but I'm sure that you will have questions on some of the situations, and we'll discuss those individually. The easy one is, as I said, somebody coming into your home, you have an absolute right to defend yourself. When I was living in Washington, D.C., when I went to law school, there was a general's home that a young man, I think he was only about 14 or 15 years old, broke into his bedroom window in the middle of the night while he was sleeping, and he had a gun next to his bed, and he shot him. And it was a big uproar because it was a teenager who didn't have a weapon. And the district attorney there rightfully said, no, you don't have to stop at that point and check anybody. If he's breaking into your home, you have a right to use deadly force, and he was not prosecuted. there's a presumption in your home and on your deck. And I caution you when I say there's a presumption, because presumptions are rebuttable. So if the mailman's coming on your porch and you don't want him there, you can't shoot him. I mean, obviously you know he's not going to harm you. Your neighbor's coming on the porch, you don't like him. No, you can't shoot him. You can't shoot him to get off your property. There's a presumption that if somebody's breaking into your home, that you are in fear of death or serious bodily injury. But that's rebuttable. If you obviously see somebody who is not a threat, you can't use deadly force.
My question is about a situation that I actually had at my house while I was at work 2 weeks ago. Some lady tried to steal our dogs out of our yard. My fiance did have a gun on this lady, and she still kept coming. Now, in a situation like that where they don't back down, one, is it lawful to fire a warning shot to show
No.
how serious you are? Okay.
Cannot use deadly force unless the person is breaking into your property. Stealing your dogs? No. Can't use deadly force.
Okay, but I mean, like, even like, it's not going towards that person, it's just a warning shot to
Nope.
show them that,
Can't do it.
okay.
The castle doctrine, we've just been talking about our homes, but what if you have a garage 30 feet away with your cars and trucks and motorcycles in, and somebody's breaking in there? Is that still classified as?
I don't believe that's included in the definition of the home. It includes the home itself, patio, porch, deck, not a garage. And generally, under the law, you are not allowed to use deadly force to defend just property. Defend yourself, but defend person, but not property. Somebody's stealing your car? No, can't shoot them. I mean, you cannot use deadly force generally to protect property.
Okay.